what would you describe an archetype to be? For all the people who are listening and who might not know exactly what an archetype is.
Right. Yeah, there's different definitions for archetype. I think on a broad scale, especially in the field of psychology and spirituality, archetype comes from Jungian work, and Carl Jung, of course, who was the psychologist from Switzerland, and most people know of his work, coined the term. He didn't coin the term, but he used it widely in his work. And he described an archetype as an inherited pattern of thought or symbolic imagery derived from the past collective experience and present in the individual unconscious. And so basically what he's saying there is an archetypal pattern is something that is held within a collective forum. Again, an example would be Mother Mary, or perhaps Jesus, perhaps Kuan Yin, some higher beautiful icon of great inspiration. And that inherited pattern of thought or imagery is held in the collective and living somewhere within our own present individual unconscious. And we pull from that as a means to inspire and to thrive and to pull down, hopefully, those qualities living within that archetypal collective consciousness that may improve or, as I had mentioned, inspire our own life. A more simplified definition of archetype would be an original model or type after which other similar things are patterned, or a prototype. So you can see, there's in a sense a kind of image or imagery that gets repeated over and over, thus a prototype.
So this imagery, this pattern, like, for example, Mother Mary or Kuan Yin or the ones you mentioned, those kind of represent our light, as Jung would call it, the nice part of us. What about the shadow part of us? Are there also archetypes for that?
Oh, absolutely, and that's a wonderful point, because the beauty, of course, of Carl Jung's work, or in shamanic work, as you know, is allowing us to become whole and full, which does not negate the shadow aspect, the dark and the light, balancing and unifying within the individual. Therefore, shadow archetypes, of course, then would be Hades, or might be the devil, or might be skeletons or ghosts, or not necessarily ghosts, but anything that we carry as a collective that seems frightening, or in some way Persephone herself may be a shadow archetype, one who was abducted into the underworld, but then transforms. And so part of the collective work, I would say, in a healing perspective, with shadow work would be to own the shadow or to meet the shadow and then seek to transform its limitation or its fearful aspect that might hold back self-love or courage or self-confidence or even one's own healing process.
Right. So, for example, the hanged man or the death would actually mean an opportunity for the person to evolve from the shadow to the light.
Absolutely. I think that's beautifully said. And when I work with the tarot and I'm working with a client, what you just said reminded me of this. I like to mention to the client that the tarot holds a lot of shadow around it collectively that has been built up through history, but actually offers a distortion in a sense of, various images and archetypes that create our whole being. And so when I begin working with tarot with a client, I like to mention that piece so that we can, in a sense, meet whatever aspect of shadow may arise for the betterment and the attunement of one's goodwill. And that there isn't a bad card, or there isn't really a scary card, like one might think, like, oh, I hope I don't get the death card, or I hope I don't get the devil card. But they're just pictures of something lying latent within the soul's territory, waiting for a chance to be recognized and healed.